A few months ago, a 68-year-old man sat exactly where you are sitting right now. We'll call him Robert. He looked down at his hands, eyes welling with tears, and confessed something to me that I hear almost every single day in my clinic. He said, "Doc, the mechanics just aren't working anymore. My wife and I love each other, but the bedroom, it feels like a high-pressure exam we're both failing. We try all the standard foreplay, but it just feels forced. The spark, it's gone." If you are over the age of 50 and you felt that quiet, suffocating distance creeping into your marriage, I want you to listen to me very carefully. As a doctor of medical science specializing in urology for over a decade, I have studied the precise vascular, neurological, and hormonal mechanisms that drive human intimacy. And I am here to tell you that Robert, like millions of others, was focusing on the exact wrong thing. Society, and frankly, a lot of outdated advice, tells us that to reignite the spark in our later years, we need to focus on foreplay, a word that inherently implies work, routine, and a countdown to a specific physical goal. But as we age, our bodies stop responding to routine. Our blood vessels change. Our nervous systems become highly sensitive to performance anxiety. If you are trying to force physical readiness, your brain will physically shut down the blood flow required for intimacy. Forget foreplay. It's a broken concept for the aging body. True, lasting, effortless intimacy doesn't start in the pelvic region. It starts in the autonomic nervous system. Today, I am going to reveal the neurobiological secrets of 3 specific, highly underestimated kissing spots. These aren't just romantic gestures. They're biological light switches. They bypass your anxiety, manually lower your stress hormones, and trigger a cascade of nitric oxide and oxytocin that physically prepares the body for deep connection. If you want to stop feeling like intimacy is a chore and start feeling that effortless, magnetic pull towards your partner again, do not click away. Because the 3rd spot we discussed today is going to change the way you look at your partner forever. Before we reveal these 3 spots, we have to understand the battlefield. Why does intimacy change as we age? In urology, we talk constantly about blood flow. Whether we are discussing erectile health in men or pelvic floor sensitivity in women, it all comes down to a miraculous little molecule called nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is a vasodilator. It tells the smooth muscles in your blood vessels to relax, widening them and allowing a rush of warm, oxygen-rich blood to flow into the intimate areas of the body. But here's the catch. Nitric oxide is incredibly shy. It is entirely controlled by your autonomic nervous system. Your nervous system has 2 main gears, the sympathetic, your fight, flight, or stress mode, and the parasympathetic, your rest, digest, and arouse mode. When you are young, your body can easily jump into the parasympathetic arousal mode. But as we age, life takes a toll. Financial stress, health worries, changing bodies, and yes, performance anxiety, all of these keep you locked in fight or flight mode. Your body is flooded with cortisol, the stress hormone, and cortisol is the ultimate enemy of nitric oxide. It literally clamps your blood vessels shut. When you rely on standard foreplay, which usually involves direct, immediate stimulation of primary erogenous zones, you are actually putting pressure on a nervous system that is already stressed. The brain says, "Oh no, here we go. I need to perform." Cortisol spikes. Blood vessels constrict. The mechanics fail. To fix this, we have to hack the nervous system. We have to bypass the performance anxiety entirely and manually trigger the parasympathetic nervous system. We do this through targeted neurological stimulation. Kissing is not just the pressing together of lips. It is the transfer of sensory data through millions of nerve endings directly into the limbic system, the emotional center of the brain. When applied to the right spots, it acts as a biological override switch. Let's look at spot number 1. Spot number 1 is the nape of the neck, specifically right at the hairline. I call this the vagus gateway. In the medical world, the vagus nerve is a superstar. It is the 10th cranial nerve, and it is the absolute commander-in-chief of your parasympathetic nervous system. It wanders from your brainstem down through your neck and branches out to your heart, lungs, and digestive tract. When you or your partner kiss the back of the neck, you are not just being affectionate. You are applying direct tactile stimulation to the skin sitting right above this neurological superhighway. The skin at the nape of the neck is incredibly thin and densely packed with light touch receptors called Meissner's corpuscles. When these receptors are stimulated by the warmth and pressure of a kiss, they send a lightning-fast signal up to the brainstem. The immediate result? The vagus nerve activates. It literally commands your heart rate to slow down. It commands your breathing to deepen. And most importantly, it halts the production of cortisol. Think about what this means for an older couple. The pressure of performance melts away because the body is biologically forced into a state of deep relaxation. When cortisol drops, the brain signals the release of oxytocin, the bonding hormone. This makes you feel safe, cherished, and deeply connected to the person behind you. For men struggling with performance or women struggling with a lack of natural lubrication due to menopause, this spot is the primer. By forcing the body to relax, you open the floodgates for nitric oxide. The blood vessels begin to dilate, not because of physical demand, but because of profound neurological safety. If the back of the neck is about relaxation, spot number 2 is about reawakening the brain's pleasure centers. We are talking about the hollow just behind the earlobe. As a clinician, I constantly remind my patients that the largest and most important sexual organ in the human body is not located in the pelvis. It is the brain. If the brain is disengaged, the body will not follow. As we age, sensory adaptation occurs. We get used to the same touches, the same routines, the brain gets bored. The area behind the ear is a neurological goldmine. It is innervated by several major sensory nerves, including the great auricular nerve and the lesser occipital nerve. Why is this spot so powerful? Because it is intimately connected to the brain's reward circuitry. When you stimulate the area behind the ear with a soft kiss, warm breath, or gentle nuzzling, you trigger a massive release of dopamine. Dopamine is the neurotransmitter of anticipation, desire, and reward. It is what makes us feel alive, excited, and youthful. When older couples tell me they have lost their spark, what they are really saying is they are experiencing a dopamine deficit in their intimate lives. Furthermore, the skin here is remarkably thin, meaning the thermal receptors pick up the heat of your partner's breath instantly. This sudden, unexpected burst of sensory data jolts the brain out of its routine. It creates a shiver down the spine, a literal autonomic reflex that cascades down the nervous system, waking up the entire body. It signals to the body, pay attention, something wonderful is happening. You are entirely bypassing the physical mechanics and directly stimulating the brain's desire engine. This brings us to the third, and perhaps the most profoundly powerful spot on the human body. It is a spot almost completely ignored by modern culture, yet historically, it was considered one of the most intimate places a person could be touched. Spot number 3 is the inner wrist. You might be thinking, the wrist? Really, doc? How is that going to help my sex life? Let me explain the profound clinical and psychological reality of the inner wrist. The inner wrist is a major pulse point. It is where the radial artery runs incredibly close to the surface of the skin. When you kiss your partner's inner wrist, your lips are literally resting against the rhythm of their heartbeat. From a neuroanatomical standpoint, the hands and wrists represent a massive portion of the somatosensory cortex in the brain. Look up the cortical homunculus. It's a map of how the brain views the body. The hands are massive. They are packed with Pacinian corpuscles which detect deep pressure and vibration. But the true power of the inner wrist is psychological, which translates instantly into the physiological. As we age, we crave reverence. We crave being seen and cherished for who we are right now, wrinkles and all. Kissing the inner wrist is an act of total submission and profound adoration. It triggers the highest possible release of oxytocin. Remember how we talked about nitric oxide and blood flow? Oxytocin is the master key. High oxytocin levels drastically lower blood pressure, reduce arterial inflammation, and create an overwhelming sense of emotional security. For a man or woman who feels broken, who feels like their body is failing them, having their partner gently hold their wrist and kiss the pulse point communicates a vital message to the nervous system. I love you exactly as you are. There is no rush. There is no expectation. When that level of psychological safety is achieved, the physical body miraculously begins to respond. The urological pathways that were blocked by anxiety suddenly open up. The mechanics start working again, not because they were forced, but because the soul was comforted. So, how do we put this medical science into practice? I give my patients a prescription I call the 7-day reset. For the next 7 days, I want you to ban traditional foreplay. Ban the bedroom entirely if you have to. Take the pressure off. Instead, your only goal is to implement these 3 spots. When your wife is reading, walk up behind her and gently kiss the nape of her neck. When your husband is talking to you, step in close and let your breath hit the space behind his ear. When you are sitting on the couch watching TV, take their hand, turn it over, and kiss their inner wrist. Do this with zero expectation of it leading to the bedroom. You are simply rewiring your partner's nervous system. You are rebuilding the vascular and neurological pathways of intimacy. Getting older is not the end of intimacy. In many ways, if you understand the biology, it is the beginning of a much deeper, much more profound connection. You don't need to perform like you are 25 anymore. You just need to speak the language your nervous system is desperately waiting to hear. If this video opened your eyes today, hit the like button so this information can reach other couples who might be struggling in silence. Subscribe for more deep dives into the science of the human body and healthy aging. I'm wishing you profound health and profound connection. I will see you in the next video.